Good morning. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Pagani design PD-1661. This watch is available from AliExpress from Pagani Design wristwatch store for €77. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the other items one gets with the piece. So the PD-1661 comes in this matte black cardboard watch box, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. It has Pagani design in gold with a brand emblem on the lid. And one thing I like about these watch boxes is they have two magnets, one in the flap of the lid and one in the base, and they attract each other to secure the lid of the watch box to the base. This is a feature I would like to see other watch brands use because it is a very well executed design. With regards to the watch box, the watch itself sits inside a piece of foam cut out panel, and the watch sits on the piece of foam within that. So although basic, it does suffice in protecting the watch in shipping from any damage, and I think it's perfectly acceptable to be using a basic cardboard watch box, bearing in mind that this is a low tier price point piece at only €77. With regards to other items, you also get this plastic guarantee card which has Pagani design on the front, and on the reverse there is a space for the date of purchase, the reference number of the piece which is PD-1661, and also the AliExpress reseller can stamp it if they so wish. Now in practice, the resellers on AliExpress don't tend to fill in these guarantee cards, but however the watch is covered by a 12-month international guarantee, which is very reassuring. You also get a basic owner's instruction manual. There are some diagrams and basic instructions which detail the operation of the automatic movement used in the PD-1661, which is the Seiko NH35A. So although basic, it does suffice, and if you're unfamiliar with automatic movements such as the NH35A, it is a useful read. This plastic tag also comes with the watch, and as you can see it has Pagani design and the brand emblem embossed with top waterproof. Nice touch to get these kind of accessories included, bearing in mind that it is a low tier piece. And lastly, one also gets this microfiber polishing cloth which is branded with Pagani design. Again, I think it's a nice touch, irrespective of the price point of a piece, to get a branded microfiber polishing cloth. Good attention to detail, and it's clear that Pagani design are trying to satisfy the collector. Now, with regards to the specifications of the watch itself, this PD-1661 has a 40mm case diameter, it has a 48mm lug-to-lug measurement, it has a thickness of 12.7mm, and it has a lug width of 20mm. So the PD-1661 case copies the Rolex Submariner date super case used in the 116610LN. And as an homage to the Submariner date, it does that very well because it has exactly the same case proportions, and also the thickness is also very similar at under 13mm. 12.7mm is very close to the original, which it is an homage to. It has a sapphire crystal which doesn't have AR coating, and I would say that that is a negative because, as you can see, the flat sapphire crystal with a Cyclops magnifier is highly reflective, and really it would benefit from the use of AR coating on the underside to reduce that glare and the highly reflective property of the flat sapphire crystal. But on a positive note, it has a 2.5 times magnification Cyclops magnifier, and that is exactly the same magnification as on a Rolex Submariner date. And as you can see, it is very effective in magnifying the date complication at 3 o'clock by 2.5 times to make it more legible. So the dial does follow the classic Submariner Maxi dial layout, and it also copies the Mercedes hands of the Submariner date. And as an homage to the Submariner date, I think they've done a very good job. It's very well executed. The build quality, quality control and the finishing throughout are all done to a good standard. The ceramic bezel insert is also well executed, and there's a Lume pip in the triangle at 12 o'clock. Now, one thing I want to give due credit to Pagani design for specifically is the improvements they've made to the bezel action. As you'll know from my previous reviews, I have been critical in the past of their 120 click unidirectional bezels because they've had lateral side-to-side play and also back play in the rotation. But I'm pleased to report that this is the best bezel action of all the Pagani design PD-1661s that I've previously reviewed. The bezel feels crisp. The 120 clicks are consistently tight all the way through the rotation, and also there's no back play whatsoever. I think they've really tightened up the 120 click unidirectional bezel, and it now feels closer to a Steinhardt Ocean 1, alternatively a Seiko SKX 007 if you're familiar with those pieces. No lateral side-to-side play whatsoever, which is excellent, and also no back play whatsoever. It really is a very well executed bezel, and bearing in mind that this is a low tier piece, to get excellent bezel action like this is very impressive. It was the main negative of the PD-1661, and I think that Pagani Design have responded to criticism from collectors, and they have vastly improved the quality of their bezel action. This is the latest 2021 version, and I think it's very reassuring to know that their latest versions have the better bezel action. Another notable upgrade to the latest version is they have enhanced the crown. Coin edge finish, and it has a bead blasted matte effect to the base of the crown, and then it has an embossed Pagani Design emblem which is mirror polish, which contrasts to the matte background, but they've enlarged it. So it's the same coin edge finish as the earlier version, which had a domed chrome cap to it, but they've scaled up the proportions, and I would actually say the crown is slightly larger than the Rolex Submariner Dates crown, but it makes it easy to grip. The coin edge finishing is very tactile. One can get good purchase on it to unscrew the crown and screw it back down. It provides an effective hermetic seal to 100 meters of water resistance, solid stainless steel, and it has an O-ring inside the screw down crown, and also an O-ring in the inside of the stainless steel crown tube. The quality of the thread action is superb. It's silky smooth. I would actually describe it as Rolex quality. This is again something that Pagani Design do very well. The crown action is the kind of silky smooth crown action one would expect to see on a mid-tier or a high-tier piece, and certainly not on a low-tier piece costing only €77. So the NH35A has hand winding and hacking. It's an absolute pleasure to manually wind the movement to top up the power reserve to its maximum 40 hours, and it's just silky smooth. No problems whatsoever with regards to the interface of the internal crown and the external crown on the crown tube. They mesh very well, and the thread pickup is outstanding. One of the most satisfying crown actions I've experienced on a watch, regardless of the price point, and it's something I really like about the PD-1661 specifically. So, with regards to the rubber strap, it's integrated to the lugs, as you can see, and they've done a very good job of matching the curved profile of the integrated curved ends of the rubber strap to the lugs. It's just a very nice strap, which reminds me of the Rolex Oysterflex strap. Now, with regards to the material, it's not silicone rubber as one would expect. It feels stiffer and more like vulcanized rubber. And vulcanized rubber is the material used in rubber B straps, and also Everest straps, if you're familiar with those on Rolex pieces. And I think that Pagani Design deserve full credit for not cutting any corners by using a low quality, low cost silicone rubber, which would be very soft and supple. But the problem with silicone rubber is they have a tendency to split and crack around the spring bars, so they're not very durable, although they are soft and comfortable to wear. With vulcanized rubber, it is stiffer, but the positive is that it doesn't split and crack around the spring bars, and therefore long-term vulcanized rubber straps are tougher. They last for a longer time. Now, with regards to the buckle and tang, very well executed, finished to a high standard, Pagani Design engraved to a good standard. And one thing I really like about it is the attention to detail. Brushed satin finish, but as you can see, they have machined a large bevel on the edges of the tang and the buckle, and that's mirror polish to contrast with it. And it's very aesthetically pleasing, and I like the fact that they haven't just squared off the buckle, and they have taken the time to finish the mirror polishing on the bevels to a flawless finish. Again, this is the kind of finishing one would expect to see on a mid-tier piece, and certainly not on a low-tier piece. There are two keepers on the rubber strap, one slides, one's fixed, as you can see. And another attention to detail that I really like is there are two notches either side of the fixed keeper, as you can see, on either side of the strap. So the fixed keeper engages with those two nodules, and it really does work very well because it stops the fixed keeper from sliding up and down the strap, and I think it's a very good design. So I'll show you the case back. It has a screw-down exhibition case back, which is stainless steel, and the centre section is glazed with mineral crystal. Very well executed. It's finished to a very high standard with concentric brushed satin finishing to the centre section, and the circumference of the screw-down case back has a contrasting mirror finish. The underside of the case is also beautifully finished with concentric brushed satin finish, which matches the finishing to the tops of the lugs. The mirror polishing to the flanks of the case is absolutely flawless. It really is top quality finishing, and I think they deserve full credit for that. They haven't cut any corners with regards to the finishing of the case. So I really like the use of the exhibition case back, which displays the Seiko NH35A automatic to good effect. It also provides an effective hermetic seal to 100 meters of water resistance. So I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now, minor criticism is the strap is a fraction too short for my 8-inch wrist. But however, for the majority of collectors with a 6 to 7-inch wrist, this rubber strap will fit you with no problems whatsoever. But if you have a larger than 7.5-inch wrist, you're going to need a slightly longer strap, as you can see, to engage the end of the strap into the two keepers. With regards to the fit of the piece, it's absolutely sublime. 48mm lug-to-lug measurement is the sweet spot. As you'll know from my previous reviews, I consider 48mm lug-to-lug to be perfection. The 20mm lug width perfectly balances the 40mm head of the piece. Incredibly comfortable to wear for long periods of time, and it also benefits from being 12.7mm thick, so this will easily slip underneath the shirt cuff if you wear business shirts, an ideal daily wear piece. Comfort and feel-good factor are both outstanding, and on the rubber strap it only weighs 100 grams, so it's significantly lighter than the bracelet version. And I would say to you, if you're a collector with a smaller wrist of 6 to 7 inches, consider this rubber strap version over the Oyster bracelet version, because it reduces the heft of the piece by 50 grams, which is significant. And if you're looking to wear the piece for long periods of time, I would say to you that the 100 grams really is noticeable. It feels more comfortable, more lightweight on the wrist. And I also like the smoothness of the underside of the rubber strap. As you can see, it's perfectly smooth on the underside, and that means that it's very comfortable and flat on the wrist. So it does make for a very comfortable feeling wearing the watch for long periods of time. Right, so let's do a Lume test and we'll see how the Lume performs when it's charged up to its absolute maximum. So as always, I'm going to charge up the Lume using my 100 UV LED torch to its absolute maximum, and we'll see how it performs. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, the Lume on the indices and also the Mercedes hands do initially glow very brightly, as does the Lume pip on the ceramic bezel insert. Now, I think they've made some slight improvements to the quality of the Lume over earlier PD-1661 versions. One of my main criticisms was the bezel action, and as you know, that has now been resolved to a satisfactory standard. The other main criticism I had of the PD-1661 was the poor quality of Luminova. Now, obviously, one isn't going to get BGW9 Super Luminova on a €77 low-tier piece. But however, they have definitely improved the quality of the grade of Luminova used on this piece. As you can see, the Lume is glowing brighter, and also it's continuing to glow for a longer length of time than previous models of the PD-1661. And again, I think Pagani Design deserve full credit for doing something to improve the quality of the Luminova without raising the price point of the piece. Now, I personally would prefer to see them increase the price and upgrade to BGW9 Super Luminova, but however, as a cost-cutting measure, this Luminova definitely is better quality than previous versions prior to 2021. So it's basic Luminova, but it does suffice and it does glow to an acceptable standard. And I like it. I think the blue tone really does complement it, both on the Mercedes hands and also the applied indices. So lastly, I'll talk about the movement. It uses the Seiko NH35A automatic, which I'm sure you're very familiar with from my previous reviews. It has 24 joules and it runs at 21,600 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 3 Hz. It has hand winding and hacking, which are useful complications, and a 40-hour power reserve, which is perfectly acceptable. The NH35A is made by Seiko in 2 plants in Malaysia and also Japan respectively. And I'm pleased to report that this one is the made in Japan version. And one thing I like about it is the regulation. The stated accuracy of the NH35A is -20 to +40 seconds per day. So it's a relatively wide accuracy range in terms of the calibration. But I'm pleased to report that this one is running at +5 seconds per day, which is just incredible for an NH35A. And it's an indication that the movements that Pagani Design are receiving from Seiko are regulated to a good standard. To get -5 seconds per day consistently when the movement is wound at 40 hours, its maximum power reserve, really is very impressive, bearing in mind it has a -20 to +40 accuracy range. So accurate, good, reliable, solid workhorse movement, and I like the Seiko NH35A movement. I think it is the perfect choice for this piece. So lastly, I'll surmise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch should meet 2 criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So the negatives of the PD-1661 were always the poor bezel action and the poor quality lume. Now, I'm pleased to report that in this case, the latest 2021 version, which doesn't have Explorer on the dial at the 12 o'clock position, they have resolved both of those issues. The bezel action is superb in comparison to earlier models. Very satisfying to use, that nice tight bezel action, so that is a positive. They've also upgraded the quality of the Luminova, and again, that is a positive improvement. So it's clear that Pagani Design are moving in the correct direction with the PD-1661 by trying to improve on the negatives. So overall, yes, I consider it to be excellent quality, and yes, I consider it to be excellent value at the respective price points, which is €77. Build quality, quality control and case finishing are all outstanding. And I really think that if you're looking for a Submariner date Homage at under €100, the PD-1661 cannot be beaten. This is the best Submariner date Homage at €77. It cannot be beaten. The comfort of the rubber strap is sublime, and I really think that at 100 grams, as I've discussed, it makes for a more comfortable piece to wear for long periods of time than the Oyster bracelet version. So if you like the PD-1661 but you dislike the Oyster bracelet, I would say to you, consider the integrated rubber strap version you're looking at here. So I'm going to highly recommend this watch to you for your consideration. I'm going to declare it a champagne watch for lemonade money. I hope you've liked my review of the Pagani Design PD-1661. Please feel free to post your comments below the video. Thank you very much.